Whoa. Whatever. Alright. Should probably log in. I'm just going to get everyone's posts up for now. And why not? I'll post on Twitter. Alright, that should be about enough time. I'll quickly go over my team for the weekend and what happened before getting into the questions and answers. So, as you can see, I had a pretty good weekend. Decent rank for the round, jumped about, what is that, like 30-something thousand spots. So, quite happy with that. A lot of people performed very well. Saar did quite well. Nunes got scaled up with a lot, which I was very happy with. Koljashny got scaled up. So yeah, he got it up. But very happy with that. I picked Pendlebury for captain. You don't turn away a 126, so that's totally fine. I'll probably go with Fife this week just because of the injury cloud that Pendlebury's under, but we'll get to that. Griffin, better score, but like he's still underperforming, but I'm going to keep him. Parker got robbed again. Ellis Yeoman showed that he is the best of the rookies, surprisingly. I didn't pick that. I thought he would be the sub a fair bit over the 2015 season, even though he's a bit of a older player, older rookie, I suppose you could call him. Anderson, Heaney, and Miller, that's fine. They were on the bench. Heaney was on the field. Goldstein, very well. Bell-Chambers, I thought he was robbed, actually. He had 100% efficiency, so I have no idea how that score came about. Bont, good again. Martin, as you do, made up for it. And probably the emergency on Clark. So yeah, pretty good score. Can't really fault anything. One thing I can fault is the person that got first for the round, and it happened again, and I really pointed it out last time. No, this is first overall. Or maybe it is just for the round. No, it's not for the round. Get a kick. You. He has Byrne, who wasn't named last week at all, wasn't named round one at all, so it's a bad pick. And Cracker, who wasn't named last week at all, and wasn't named round one at all, so it was a bad pick. And he's lucked out because they're both in this week, so it's funny how that happens. And the same thing, exact same thing happened last week, actually. I think it was actually Lambert instead of Cracker, but still, players that didn't play that week, and the person got number one in the round. Whatever. So, let's get to questions. I'll answer the ones first in the chat. There's only one at the moment, so get to asking, and then I'll go to the ones that were put on Facebook. Trading out Ablett and Brett Goods, two options for both. Goods, upgrade to Tom McDonald or downgrade to Oxley. For Gaz, trade to either Sloan or Shield. Thoughts? Just a general rule of mine, I don't pick players that are key position players at all. You can look throughout my entire, obviously that doesn't count, but you can look through my entire line and really only the rookies, Clark and Hogan, are the key position players. I started one year with Nick Riewoldt and that worked out quite well for me, and Buddy Franklin last year and that worked out quite well for me, but other than that, nah. They're too unreliable. They can have great games and score you 120 plus, or they can have dud games and score you 50, and that's really the situation that happened with Jared Waite, for example, scored what 177 on the weekend, and the week before he scored 13. So I know Jared Waite's not exactly your SuperCoach premium, but it gets the point across. So what I would do for that is, could you go to Doherty instead? Because I'm personally probably going to get in Doherty and Oxley actually. I don't have Ablett. For Gaz, trade to either Sloan or Shield. In terms of priorities, I would go Fife, JPK, Sloan, Pendlebury, and then probably Shield after that. So I suppose that kind of answers your question, but it gives you a couple of other players that you maybe didn't consider. I really want to consider Tom McDonald as well, and I know a lot of people are asking about him, and it's not just because of his 2 good weeks either that you should be considering him, and I think that's what a lot of people are basing their trading in of him on. And he could very well continue to score very well, but you've got to keep in mind that Melbourne have played 2, I don't want to call them substandard, but they're not great sides, and that's GWS and Gold Coast. And this week, who do they play? Sorry, just off the top of my head, can't figure it out. They play Adelaide, so it could be a very different order. McDonald is a defender though, so maybe he'll score quite well, but he might rotate through Tex Walker, and that'll really limit his rebounding impact. But anyway, back to the point that I was saying. Melbourne played. I'm looking at preseason games here, by the way. Melbourne. So Tom McDonald, as we can see, his SuperCoach average before this game was 125. So he scored 125 in round 1. He scored 118 in round 2, and he's priced at 381,000. So great pick, you might think. And really, the results in the preseason kind of enforce that, because you can see he scored a 99 against Fremantle. He scored a 96 against Essendon. And he scored 108 against the Dogs. So really, really good scores, and it does show consistency. But I don't know. Like I said, I'm always hesitant about picking key position players, and it's the case again. It's why I'm probably not going to pick Rance, even though I'm a hardcore Richmond supporter, and he's played 2 amazing games, and they should give him as much money as he wants, basically. I just, they're too up and down. They could play against someone that really requires that defender to play a lockdown role, and that'll really limit their impact. And that's why you go with someone like Doherty, who might get attention from a forward tagger, but that's much less likely to happen, in my opinion, than a key forward needing to be shut down. So always go for smalls over talls, in my opinion. So yeah, there's that. Oh, I'll answer these ones first, because I really like you guys asking questions in chat. So keep Leuenberger on the bench and swap Bellchambers into the ruck, or do I trade up Leuenberger via Ablett? You have Bellchambers. Oh, I assume you would trade in Bellchambers. I mean, I have Bellchambers, and I'm very lucky that I did that, because I was really close to picking Leuenberger in my round 1 side. And I would have traded him in actually if Bellchambers ended up being a laid out last week. I don't know. It's really hard to see what's happening with the rucks this year. You could trade up, I suppose. I mean, Nick Nat really seems to be thriving under the new ruck rules, and Goldstein as well. Not Goldstein actually. He was robbed in round 1 for his everything outside of his third quarter, basically. I think he was only on about 30 something at half time when he dominated for a large portion of the game, and then he finally got up to what he deserved after that point. But Nick Nat seems to be doing really well, and I wish I could do 3 trades, because no, actually I probably wouldn't trade him in yet, but I want Nick Nat in my side basically, because he's got a 92 and 103, and I think for a relatively, like, you give away a free, like the free against, they cancel each other out, sorry, 6 possessions, 5 tackles, 32 headouts, which is pretty good, but I think he had 5 headouts in the first quarter alone, and that's 25 points right there. I mean, if you get 25 points each quarter, then you're going to get 100, and I'm happy with 100 from any of my rucks, any of my backmen, any of my forwards. Mids, I'm probably happy with 115. So that's just my happiness meter, I suppose. And it's 75% efficiency. So his game style, where he can leap over everyone and tap it down to advantage, which he does tend to do really well, it really suits SuperCoach. So if you can upgrade to Nick Nat, do that. If you can upgrade to Goldstein, do that, because he's not going to get much cheaper, or at least for a while. So I would do that, actually. You could maybe trade in, if you still needed to trade Ablett, you could trade in Rich, maybe, if that kind of would work. Trade in Nick Nat, sorry, upgrade Leuenberger to Nick Nat, and then downgrade Ablett to Rich or something like that. I mean, you'd probably want to trade Rich out at some point, so I don't know. It's up to you. Maybe even Van Berlo if you're looking at making money, but you need to weigh up, do you need more scoring or do you want to make money? So Van Berlo will make you more money, Rich will score you more points. I can get Doherty if I get Shield for Ablett, and I've got Fife and Pendles already. Do you have Josh Kennedy? Because Josh Kennedy is super reliable. He's just a contested beast. So do that if you can. Sard or McIntosh on the ground? Well, they've had 2 rounds to prove themselves. You go with the one that has the higher average, which in this case is McIntosh. He is named on the bench though this week, so previously he's been named on the halfback flank and the wing, I think. So, and he's named second on the bench. Sorry. So Gordon's been the sub the first 2 rounds for the Tigers. So maybe he'll be subbed again. I really think he deserved to be dropped after both weeks, actually. So see what happens. But just keep an eye on it, really. I mean, when did Gold Coast play? Okay, they play very late. So I would keep McIntosh on the ground. If he's the sub, put him on the bench for Sard. That's because Sard is named on the field, I believe. He's not here, so he has to be. Yeah, there we go. Halfback flank. Malcheski out in question mark. Doherty. That's it. Pick Doherty. He's a very good player. Hogan, Salem, Loney, and Clark. 3 spots on the field to fill, so 1 on the bench. Just go by the average. It's that simple. Clark, I think, has got the lowest average. Yeah, 55. Yeah, that's interesting. Who did Geelong play this week? The Suns. Without Gary Ablett. So they're going to be winning the ball out of the middle a lot. Dawson Simpson is omitted, so maybe some more time for Mitch Clark in the ruck if he isn't killing it up forward, which I think he might actually kill it up forward. Because, I mean, if you've got Geelong's midfield, which is pretty decent, I mean, they're going to rotate Bartel and those sorts through again. You're going to get a lot of ball coming into the forward line, and it's really just a matter of if Clark or Hawkins get it. One of them is. So if it's a choice between Loney and him, I would put Clark on the field, excuse me. Hey man, Wells for the Bont or Rich? Well, I've said this in previous weeks' Q&A sessions. I don't really like playing people that can be a forward or can be a defender in the midfield. I suppose it gives you a bit of that wiggle room when the bye rounds come, but they don't come for another, 9 rounds from now, so I actually don't know when the bye rounds are. They were round 10 this year. But anyway, if you don't have Bontempelli, there's been a lot of rumours that he's going to miss this week. I don't know where they've come from. I'm from Sydney, so the football... I'm not from Sydney, I'm studying in Sydney at the moment, so the football AFL media isn't saturating so much, so it's hard to tell, but I go with Rich. Rich is scoring quite well. He's averaging, 110, I think, at least. So, let's have a look, a proper look. Rich. I think he was on track for a okay score, but then he really turned it on towards the end. Yeah, 126 after a... That's not right, he didn't score 81 in round 1. Why are you lying to me, fan footy? 126 and 110. So, yeah, I think Rich is in for a very good round, and I would pick him ahead of. Try and get Bontempelli into your forward line. If I go JPK, should I get McDonald for goods? Is McDonald all you can afford? Because I would go Doherty over McDonald. What do you think about Tory Dixon for the Dogs? He should go up a lot in money. He plays one role, and he does that role very well, and that's really just a goal-kicking forward. So kind of like your Tim Membry types, and I'm struggling to find another comparison for him. But if he's not kicking goals, he's not doing much else, in my opinion. He did have a really good game on the weekend against the Tigers. I don't know. I don't like it, personally. When the Dogs play someone a bit better, because Richmond were insipid on the weekend, and West Coast aren't looking amazingly flash this year, and they play, is that Collingwood or Hawthorn? I think that's Hawthorn. Yeah. And then Adelaide, and then Sydney. Yeah, I don't think he's going to score very well in these next 3 weeks. I might be wrong, but yeah. Yes, it is where you ask the questions, Heckaz boy. Thank you for watching. JPK or Lewis? I don't actually know what Lewis is averaging. I know people in Dream Team are really foaming about him because he's doing really well in that. But Jordan Lewis 111, and he got what 151. I don't know. He had a very solid end of 2014, which really showed what he is capable of. But in my opinion, Kennedy's shown that over a much longer period of time. So I would go with Kennedy. Heppel or Lewis? If that's the choice, Lewis. Heppel is more of a dream team player, in my opinion. He gets a lot of the ball, but it's not in as much of a contested area as Lewis does. Do I go for money trading in Oxley and Vandenberg, or for two big names like Sloan and Bonds? I have extra cash trading at Gaz. I would go one of each, probably. It's unfortunate that you can't get both Oxley and Vandenberg before they go up in value. Although I suppose... How much is Sloan going to go up? Let's have a look at the old break-evens. Sloan, check it out on the SuperCoach website, SuperCoach page website. Break-even of 84, so he's probably not going to go up that much. I mean, this is predicted a rise of what, 25k, which isn't that much in the big scheme of things, considering a player like what are we saying, Vandenberg is going to go up by 83k, so pretty big difference in my opinion, and that's going to go on from week after week. So I would actually go with the rookies just because I'm a tight ass, and it's generally you want to get the right rookies at the start of the year because that's the way you're generating your cash. That's the way that you upgrade your team to be the best that it can be towards the buy rounds and beyond. Bont or Kennedy? Which Kennedy? If you're talking about Josh Kennedy from Sydney, then Josh Kennedy from Sydney. If you're talking about Josh Kennedy from the Eagles, then Bontempelli. Have both Gadge and Selwood. Should I trade both of them? Keep Selwood. He's playing. He's just down. Don't make him captain. That is a very good trade. And well, Cripps is back this week, and they've shown. I know it's just team sheets, but where is he? They've shown a lot of faith in him. He's lining up alongside Joe Watson. So I know he was named Rover or Ruck Rover in round 1, but and didn't really do much, and that's because he ran to where Judd was getting the ball all the time. So I'd give Cripps another week. He's not going to change in price, so you can give him one more week of breathing space. Yeah. Lewis. Getting JPK. Yeah, I guess you can go for McDonald. Like I said, he does have a really solid preseason behind it, and as well as these first 2 rounds, to kind of indicate that he is capable of these high scores. But He's a key position player, and Melbourne are going to be playing a lot better opponents in the next month or two. So if they played an Essendon, for example, who are, I would say, a good side, good to very good side at the moment, um, and he gave out scores like that, then sure, put him in, no problems. He's proven that he can do it against a side which, you know, is capable of kicking big scores. Not only that, but have someone that would force him to man up on a tall target and still kick, and still get big scores. So pick him at your own risk. But I've shown you, like I said, he does have the scores behind it. But yeah, Griffin to Shield. Keep Griffin for now. Yeah, I'm sure there's more important trades that need to be done right now. JPK or Sloan for Ablett. JPK. Griffin to Shield. And Goods to Oxley or Bartel to Bonds. Why are you trading Bartel? He's back! And he's named on the wing. And I'll show you his preseason if you don't believe what he's capable of this year. Because round one he was robbed, actually. He scored much better than what he was given points for. But if you look at Geelong's... Did I do one? Geelong's preseason, you will notice Jimmy Bartel, 148 from 72% game time. Jimmy Bartel, 126, 85% game time, but you'd be happy with 126 every day of the week. And Jimmy Bartel, who was the sub and came on at... where did he come on? I'm pretty sure he came on after half-time for Stokes. So he played 47% game time and he scored 91. Are you kidding me? Do not trade Bartel, at least for 1 week, because you've got... He could score really big, or even if he doesn't, then you've got that leeway to trade him the week after. So do not trade Bartel. Goods to Oxley, great trade. I love it. That's probably what I'm doing. Personally, just to give you an idea, I'm probably doing Goods to Oxley and then putting the emergency on Oxley. I still think my lineup is pretty good, these 5, and I'm trading Koljiashny for Doherty. Just because Koljiashny is not performing to the level that I want him to. And I'm still quite happy with Lumumba, even though his scores are not as great as someone like your Sean Higgins. I still keep to the mantra that Higgins has to work a lot harder for his scores than Lumumba does. Like, he pulls scores out of his ass, Lumumba, and hopefully that trend does not stop. Should I bring Hogan for Lambert or bring an Oxley for a rookie defender that is yet to play a game? Always give them games to show what they're capable of doing. Always. Never do something different. It's just the way it is. But it's kind of a shame that you don't have Hogan in your side. That's really where you really need to try and nail your round one team, and there's not much you can do about it now, but you had the team lists for round one, and you saw that Lambert wasn't named and that Hogan was, and that should have basically been enough for you to say, right, I've got to get Hogan in, I've got to kick Lambert out, because Lambert was in my side basically all the preseason, and then not named round one, you're out of here. Side bottom to Gray or JPK? I'd go JPK just because you can get Gray in the forward line, and there's bound to be a point where you can do that. Leave Goods and take on your idea of KK to Doherty. You're more than welcome to do that. And I think the reason that I think some people could maybe handle keeping Goods is that if he's not named as the sub, which unfortunately he was this week, and then he didn't really get close to it when he was subbed onto the ground, Easton Wood is injured. And so that really opens up a defensive spot, I suppose you could say, for the Dogs. And I'm sorry, I don't know who they brought in this week. Webb, Roberts, Kobe Stevens. So none of them are really... I don't know much about Lucas Webb, unfortunately, but I would go... If I was Luke Beveridge, I would go with a more experienced person like Brett Goods over... any of these other guys, but he was named last on the interchange, so he could very well be a laid out. And it's really hard to say. It really is, because by the time Oxley's played, it'll be too late. You can't do that trade. Um, I suppose the one thing that you could do. Oh no, you can't do that either. Yeah, there's not much you can do, unfortunately. It's kind of a crappy situation. Uh, McGrath, no, he's only a forward. Yeah, sure, go with my idea. Sit on Tuchmuller or trade him off. Keep him. He's not doing great, but he's like he'll just keep scoring that. Well, I think he could get better than that. He can get up to a 50 average, and you'd be reasonably okay with that. Um, they have a lot of money in the rucks. Should I downgrade and upgrade a forward line? You'd need to tell me who your other starting forwards are, because I can't really tell from that. Is it a bad move to leave Abel on my bench? Yes, in my opinion. And get rid of Goods for Oxley and Leuenberger for... Oh, if that's what the situation is. Given the structure of the games this week, and that you can't really tell if Goods will be playing or not, I suppose you could wait until the very last minute on the Friday, and if you're really watching the teams like a hawk, and you see that Goods is not playing, then I suppose you could keep him out, but yeah, you need to get rid of Leuenberger, and if you can jump on Nat Nui, that's really good. I wouldn't keep Abel on the bench. There's way too much money sitting on the bench, and he's not going to be 100% even when he does come back, so you need to trade him, in my opinion, and just bite the bullet of Goods for 1 week. He could come out and score pretty decently. So I would do Ablett to JP Fife, JPK, Sloan, Pendlebury. Yeah, that'll do in that order. And Leuenberger to Nat Nui, if I were you. Right, I said I was going to answer these questions on Facebook, and there were so many good questions I didn't have a chance to. Whitecross hasn't played a game yet, so I wouldn't do that. By the way, guys, for everyone that's watching, click the follow button in the bottom left-hand corner here. It should be like a heart button. I can't see it because it's my stream, but if you do that, then you're just notified of, that I am streaming and that sort of thing, and it helps me out get my follower count. We can get to above 100, which would be really cool. I'll answer that in a bit. Sorry, I need to get back to these Facebook questions. I think you asked that in the chat. So, Gaz Green to Kennedy Sloan or Bont Rance. That's a lot of money to spend. Yeah, do the first one. That's a good one. Money at this point in time, money. It's more important. It'll give you more points in the long run. And if you're getting these players that are scoring quite well, like Vandenberg, and I suppose Ockley's only done it for 1 week, but he took himself a lot of the time before he took the kickouts. So that's a really good sign for in SuperCoach terms. I'm still going to start him on the bench just because of his average being lower than McIntosh and Sard, but by all means start him on the field if that's your only option. Which option do you think is best? I'm completely stuck. Goods and to Oxley, Miller to Van Berlo. Don't like that. Don't like any of those actually. I would do Goods to Oxley and K Colo to someone better, aka Doherty. Or if you already have Doherty, I suppose you could do McDonald. I don't like it, but I suppose you could do it. Andrew Swallow for Shield. Swallow's always been up and down in his scoring. You can see that throughout his entire career. Despite let's even go to his best season where he averaged 112. He had good score, good solid score, good score, Like it's always going to be up and down with Swallow, and despite him being in peak fitness, he's going to have those weeks where he goes down. So keep Swallow for now, in my opinion. You can do more money trades, in my opinion. One on YouTube videos, I can try and upload this one that I'm doing right now if you want, but it's going to have all the crappy stuff of me talking to myself at the very start. Keep or trade Nathan Brown. Keep him. Yeah, keep him. He was always a sit and forget player. Like, he's just going to be sitting here on my bench, just making money gradually. And when he reaches 250, maybe he'll reach to 75 if I'm lucky. Then I'm going to just boot him because that's all he was ever there to do. Is both worth hanging on to. I know he's had a very poor start to the year, but I'm not entirely sure. Oh, that's not too good. I suppose you'd want to jump off before he starts hemorrhaging cash. So again, Fife, Kennedy, Sloan, Pendlebury in that order. I would normally have Pendlebury up higher, but he's under that injury cloud now, and as far as I know, the other two aren't. The other three aren't. Sorry. Keep Malcheski, jump on Taylor Hunt. I wouldn't jump on Taylor Hunt. He's very up-down. Gadge to Sloan and Jacksh to McDonald. I would do Gadge to one of those mids that I keep mentioning. Jacksh to McDonald or Doherty, if I were you. Should I trade either Beams, Griffin, or Ward? I'd trade Beams if that's what you have to do. There's probably better trades that you can make around the ground because they're not doing bad. I actually am not entirely sure what Beams is doing, but Griffin isn't doing bad. He's just not doing great. Yeah, I mean that's one poor week against North, who were pissed after getting smashed in round one, and now they play Richmond, who probably are going to be pretty pissed after losing to the Bulldogs, but who knows? Who knows what'll happen? Richmond. It depends which Richmond turns up. Mundy or Dylan Shield. Don't jump on Shield too quickly. He hasn't proven it. Always go for the players that have proven that they can score time after time after time. And that's JPK and Fife. They're the big and Pendlebury. And then Sloan's probably the new one. Sloan has earned his stripes, I suppose you could say. You can do Mundy if you want to. What's his scores for the? I know he had a really good game on the weekend, but yeah, 150 and 114. Yeah, I think Freo are a force this year. So sure, get Mundy. Be a point of difference. It's like Parker's my point of difference, but actually it's worked out for you. Who will be the 2015 version of Robbie Gray? Bontempelli, probably. Even though Gray's had a lot more years in the system. Ablett Duncan. Rich Duncan, really. To JPK Wines or Barlow Rich. If you could do JPK Rich, that would be really good. Travis Bowen. Should I trade Malcheski, thinking for Rance? Try for Doherty instead. Or, if not, Tom McDonald. I'd probably put McDonald and Rance on the same tier, but just because you can get more value out of McDonald and I'm a cheap ass, I would go with McDonald. But yeah, I honestly think Rance could get a really big score this week again because Richmond have played against sides that, with all due respect, don't have the best backlines and forward lines, and against Brisbane it's the same deal. I mean, Carlton, he was up against what, Liam Jones, I think, or God, I can't even know. Casbolt wasn't playing, and the Dogs he was up against, not Stringer, Boyd, maybe. I'm not sure, but their forward lines aren't their strength, and it's the same situation with Brisbane. They have a great midfield, but their backs and forwards are a bit lacking. In these weeks, it'll be much more testing, I suppose. No, not so much against Melbourne, maybe, but Geelong and North Melbourne. It's really the monster forwards that tend to get under Richmond's skin, so his scoring could go down in these weeks. I'll finish this page and then go back to the chat questions. Need to go to a backman. Doherty. Easy. Easy. I'm very surprised with how Yaren's scoring well, though. If I go Ablett to Bontempelli, the cash save plus the price on Cripps, I would keep Cripps and do a trade elsewhere. Gazlan out, Shield and Bont in. Again, Bont in the midfield. I don't know. Sorry, I need a drink. I think people are jumping on the flavour of the month in Shield. I think Bontempelli is the real deal. Shield, the tag could very well shift from Griffin to Shield, so what if that happens? Then his scoring goes right back down again. He could stay up there, and by all means, I really like him as a player, and hopefully he goes to Richmond at the end of the year, but I don't know. If you don't have, I'll say this again and I'll sound like a broken record, if you don't have Josh Kennedy, Nathan Fife, Scott Pendlebury, or Rory Sloane, get those in first. Try and get Bontempelli into your forward line. I suppose if you have a bit of leeway, I would get Bontempelli over Shield, if that's exactly what you're asking. But I would get those four mids in first. But just because there aren't really many forwards that are really underperforming, you don't really have a chance to do that sort of sideways trade to Bontempelli. So, yeah. Should you trade Ablett? Yes. If who? For JPK. Simple. Oh, no, 5. Holy shit. JPK or 5. If you can get both, great. Need another premium. Not specific enough. Stevens for Bont. Stevens? Is that Jack Steven? Or Kobe Stevens? Or Hibbard's doing okay. Smith's gunning it, but who knows what'll happen when Adelaide play a side that they don't thrash. So, and he was concussed last week, so he might not even play this week. So don't do that. JPK. Sorry if there's a Stevens that I don't know of in the forward line, but I would keep Jack Steven if that's who you're talking about, and if it's Kobe Stevens, then I'm not sure why you started him, and sure, go to Bontempelli. Hibbard Smith, I'd keep Hibbard for now, he's not scoring that poorly. Going back to the chat questions, sorry guys if I let them pile up a bit. Cripps to who? Keep Cripps. That's my question, my opinion. For 1 week, at least. See what he does this week. Should I keep Lamb? I'm not sure why he was dropped. It has to be some kind of disciplinary off-field thing. Because he's not even named on the extended bench, which I find really weird. I would sell Boak, yes. I have a lot of money in the rucks. I'm sure I said... Did you say that? Yeah. Oh, yes. Laptop died. Well, why would you downgrade Goldstein, for one? He's gunning it. Jacobs had a very good weekend as well, so no. Keep him. I'm sure there has to be somewhere else in your team that's not doing that well, Shardy. Everyone's got something that's wrong with their team. Els Yeoman or Vandenberg, I assume... But is that to start on the field, or is that to trade in? Because their averages are basically dead even, aren't they? It's like 87 and 88. Yeah. Personal preference, I suppose. Which one do you think is less likely to be the sub? If you're looking for the one that's going to make more money, I suppose you would put Yeoman just because he got the bigger score in round 2, if that makes sense, because the score in round 1 won't count for his price for as long as Vandenberg's score will count. If that makes sense. Yeah, the more recent scores count more for the break-evens and how much players are worth. And so since Yeoman scored higher in the more recent round, his break-evens will be lower in the coming rounds. But again, keep an eye on the teams and late-ins and late-outs and who's the sub and everything, because that they could both very well be that sub. Questions. Should I... No. Are there any others that you messed up on? So do I. I never thought Beams was a good pick. Hi, Tim Collin. How's it doing? Have you clicked follow yet? If you haven't, do it. Um, should I swap him? If there's nowhere else that money can be made in your side, sure, do it. Going to the next set of questions. Ablett for Heppel, Sloan, or Dangerfield? Dangerfield's doing pretty well this year, but what happens if Adelaide don't smash teams? But I suppose he's the one that's kind of driving that smashing. Um, Goods up to Savage or down to Oxley. Is Savage a defender? Really? No, he can't be. Not Jimmy Savage. Yeah, he's a midfielder. How are you doing? Or is Goods a... No, how are you doing that? Does not compute. Because if Savage was a defender, I'd be all on it because he's looks like he's playing a different role and he's not going to be the sub, so he's scoring much better. Doherty, GPK, no, Doherty, Sloan, I suppose. If you already have JPK and Fife and Pendlebury, keep Brett Goods or trade. Depends if he's named in the team on Friday at 5 o'clock, because he's named last on the extended bench. Yeah. Next thing. Malcheski for question mark. Doc is my go-to. And then probably Rance and Hooker. And sorry, I lied earlier. I would put McDonald at a level just below Rance and Hooker, but because of his price, he goes back up to just as desirable as both of them. So I think Rance and Hooker are capable of scoring more on average than Tom McDonald, but because of McDonald's value, you could very well justify selecting him just as much as Rance or Hooker. So it's just a personal preference thing. Do I go for the money trading Oxley and oh, I see. Money. Early on money. Is Pendles out? No idea. He was named on the as the rover, so one would suggest no. Fingers crossed that he's not. He's not going to be my captain this week because of it. Five's going to be my captain now. Let's do that switcheroo now. And poop Kennedy. Which should you get before the prices rise? Doherty's less of a factor, I suppose. I'd get Van Berlo and Rich before their prices rise, but I'm sure there has to be someone that's actually a rookie that you can get before the price rises. Can you afford Goldie? No, you can't. That sucks. Nick Nat is who you should get if you have that much in the bank. Yes, it will. Yes, for now. Cripps could very well score 100 on the weekend. Who knows? So, which two? I like, and how do you do that? Who's the replacement ruck? I don't understand. Trying to think of any dual position ones, but I can't. Unless you probably have Ryder in your forward line, and then you're switching him into the rucks, and then Bontempelli in the forward line. If that's the case, then sure, that sounds great. But why are you trading Bellchambers out? He's still going to go up in price. Not that much, but he's still going to go up. Yes. I'm not sure about Rance. Like, again, Doherty's number one. Smith, just because of the whole concussion thing, I'm not sure about. If he didn't have that happen, I probably would have traded him. I would probably have him in ahead of Doherty. And then Rance, Hooker, and McDonald on the same level. Leuenberger and Lambert out. Nui and Van Berlo is the one that you should do. It's been asked. Best defender. Geary led off Floston. Geary's my man. Like he's I got a soft spot for Geary, but Laird I suppose has shown the most. There's a danger of him being the sub. It's kind of an awkward price point, I suppose. Isn't Josh Bruce available there? Like he's not going to kick how many did 7 goals I think on the weekend, but a lot. Yeah, 6 goals, and he kicked 2 against GWS. But I mean, who do they play after this? Collingwood, Carl. I mean, it's not the hardest run coming up, so he could very well kick fair few goals again, and he's priced at what, less than 300k, and he's a back. So Josh Bruce is one that you should be considering as well. Back to the chat questions. Um, Savages. Oh, really? That's weird that FanFooty's not picking him as a defender. Let's have a look. See. Is there a search? So he is. Well, person that I just spoke to, you could also consider Shane Savage. I know he's $1,000 over that, but I'm assuming that you could maybe afford that. And he scored an average of that. So, interesting. Very interesting. I would still go Doherty over him, just personally. If Goods is named the sub, then you're boned, basically. Because he's probably going to drop in price. His more recent score was a 10, so that's going to hang on for a while, and his break even... What is his break even? Is 67, so he could very well go down in price, which is not what you wanted after picking him up for that sort of price. It's just really an unfortunate situation. Do not swap grips. I would go, if anything, I would go Swallow to Van Berlo if you were looking to get cash, and then do a trade elsewhere. I'd trade out Goods. Doesn't look like the Bulldogs like him. I would do that too. See if I'm getting any love on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter, by the way, at TigerMat123. Ooh. It doesn't work. Yes, it does. Don't lie. Do we trade in Bont with rumours of him not trading this week? I mean, he's named on the field, so I assume he would be playing. Hopefully he is, because so far, knock on wood, my luck is held out for me. Where is he named? Yeah, he's a Rover, so that's pretty encouraging. I'll refresh this guy just because it's the latest one, and if there's any more questions, I'll ask those, and very last ones in here. It depends how much cash you have, freak PS3 gamer. But, it depends how much money you have. I mean, you've got Josh Bruce as a value option. A lot of people are saying Taylor Hunt, but I don't like that. Yeah, I mean, again, this score will last for longer. I think he could actually score quite well against Brisbane, because he's very much an endurance runner, and Brisbane are fielding a relatively young side, so he could really burn them with his tank on the outside. But I don't know about long term. If you're looking about long term, you'd probably pick up someone like Tom McDonald or Doc, I suppose. Goods to Ox, very good. It's what I'm doing. Cripps too rich, don't like. Higgins for Bomp. It's Bont, not Bomp. Goods to Ox, yes, for starters. I don't really like this, but if you really need the scores that badly, then sure, just because Cripps only played one game, so you can't really say that he won't score any better. Rich, by all means, has scored You can bring him in because he scored quite well so far this season, but can he keep it up? I get the feeling that Richmond will put a tag on him, and if they don't, they're an idiot. It's that simple. Uh, Goods to Ox, yeah, sure. Higgins, why would you trade out Higgins? He's been scoring quite well. And Bontempelli, Bartel, do not trade Bartel. I've already showed you why. He's scored very, very well over the preseason, and his round one game, he was not scored as much as he deserved. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with a 94.5 average. I would take that every day of the week, especially paying only 400k for him. Right, guys, you've got 5 more minutes. 2 more minutes to ask questions. I'm just going to. Interesting point. Will it be affected by Walker? Hopefully not, because Carlton. Mick Malthouse would be stupid to basically change the one thing in the team that's working at the moment. Two things. I think Yaron's working quite well, even though Carlton supporters don't really recognise it. He provides so much run for them. So him and I suppose you can say Judd and what's his face are probably the only ones that and Doherty are the only ones that are performing their role at the moment. And to change that just for Walker, who is, a good player, but yeah, I don't know. That would be a shame if that happened, because he's capable of so much. Doherty, if they just let him play his position and get comfortable in it. Lamb to Hogan or McGrath. Feel Hogan's had a few easy ones, although I believe his job security is better than McGrath's. It is a lot better than McGrath's, and I was very surprised with how much Hogan scored. I had him penciled in for a 55 average at the start of the year, and he has had a couple of easy ones though. Let's see who they face next. So Adelaide, that'll be tough. Richmond, who knows? They couldn't get up for the Tom Hafey Memorial game last year, so who knows when that's going to happen. I mean, this is all a reasonably hard stretch of games. I'm even including the Dogs because they play a contested style that's quite hard to beat. I suppose their defenders aren't as good as your Sydney or your Hawthorn or your Fremantle. I'd even put Richmond in there because they've got Rance, who would probably go to him, and Talia from Adelaide would go to him. So, I mean, he's their number. Would you say he's his number two or number one or number two forward? Because you've got Chris Dawes back now. So, I don't know. I wouldn't trade the farm to have him in, but I think he's a better choice than McGrath. No cash. No, don't upgrade to Lumumba. I think Lumumba's fine to keep, but you don't upgrade to someone that's he's only averaging 82. You don't do that. You get someone that's going to go up in price, and I think Lumumba's going to stagnate at the moment. Luckily, his better score was the more recent one though. So, righto. Last question. Sorry guys. Two more questions. Keep or trade Delidio? I don't know how much longer Delidio is going to be out for. It's an Achilles thing that they said he was 100% for in round one, and he's not named again this week, so who knows? I'm assuming you picked him as a forward, so if you don't have Bontempelli, that would be a good person to get. Or even Swan. Swan's exceeded expectations. I thought he would dud it up this year, but he's done quite well. Robbie Gray, if you don't have him. And that's about all the real safe picks in the forward line. Should I put the vice on JPK for hopes of a loophole? Have Hurley from Freo. I assume that's a rookie defender or something, but I don't know Hurley's. Well, who are the loophole options this week? I suppose Pendlebury. Well, who would your other option be? I suppose you've got Fife as your captain. I don't know. I hate the loophole. And I actually read on Big Footy a really good idea that someone had. I'm sorry, I don't remember who it was, but They said that if you put all of your eggs in one basket, basically there's an option to select like a super captain or something like that, where you only select one, and then if you do that, you don't get 2 times the captain score, you get 2.5 times the score. So you actually get rewarded for taking a risk and having one hit at who you want as captain. And I think that's a really good way for scoring to be done, because if you want to do the loophole and go the safe route, you can. But if you want to chance it and get bigger scores, and that can be the difference between, winning or losing a critical league game, that can be the difference between going up or down 100 spots, you can take that risk, and I think that's a really good idea. That's about all for now, guys. Again, if you haven't done it already, please click the follow button in the bottom left hand corner. It really helps me out. And I'll be back here next Thursday. It'll be a bit different because I'll be in. I'm not sure if I'll do one next week. I'll be in New Zealand, so I don't know if my internet connection will be as good as the one I've got here. So I'll do my best. Worst case, I'll do a text-based question and answer that's done on the SuperCoach page website, and I'll make sure I put my name there so you know it's me. So you know that the things are all actually thought through, all my answers, because you can see that I really look into the stats and why I make these decisions. Because yeah, it's important to get it right, especially in this early stage of the year. But yeah, I'll put my name. I'll say Matt Q&A, answer for the next half hour, and then you can have a go at it. All right, last question. That's all I'm doing. Sorry, guys, you cut it off after this. I have Pendles. Yeah, I thought it's quite a good idea. You can loophole Pendles and put the captain on whoever. I don't know. It's too much to think about right now. Mundy and Shield. Yeah, Mundy and Shield or Sloan. I like Mundy as a point of difference. Yeah, sure, go the first one. I know Shield's a bit of a flavor of the month, but I don't know. It could be the thing that wins you or loses you this season. So don't. I like Mundy. If you can do someone different than Shield, then try that. Lastly, Miller for Van Berlo or Griffin to Shield. I suppose you can do Miller for Van Berlo. That's an alright trade, just because Miller's not going to earn you that much, and he's not scoring you that much. And Van Berlo is a bit more reliable. You can actually play him on the field and be reasonably happy with his score. If he scores that every week, I'm very happy with that. And you don't. It frees up. I suppose it frees up a spot on your bench. Yeah, he's not going to make that much money, but again, it looks like his security is pretty decent, because I think he's named on he's still named on the field at full forward, so it's not like he's getting put on the bench, even for a Sunday game. He's not on an extended bench, which is really encouraging. But that's about all I've got time for, guys. I've been here for about an hour now, so be sure to look out at around. I'll post it at around 7:15. No, I'll post it at 7:30. I'll post it at 7:30, and I'll say for the next half hour I'll be I'll be answering questions. And since I won't need to go into as much detail, you can just take my my opinions on face value, because you'll know that I've actually looked into it rather than just said something off the top of my head. But that's about all I've got time for, and thanks very much for watching. See you guys.